Stand by for action. Anything can happen in the next half hour.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Greetings and welcome to another exciting show. And guess what mystery guest I got next to me? It's Caroline Stevens, who's been very, very naughty, and Facebook have given her a big smack. But she's been banned for 30 days. So that's why she's coming through on my show, which is also on Facebook. And she's joined tonight by some politicians. Now, I do hope you've got your anti-BS spray with you to to avoid not catching any BS from those people. So what politicians have you got with you tonight, Caroline?
Well, were you just playing a scene, music from Thunderbirds? Thunderbirds Go. So we're talking about puppets. You know, that was the thing, wasn't it? We're talking about the puppets. So we've got some puppets here. We have got Mr. Forgetful. Now, which MP could this represent? Mr. Forgetful, would it be somebody who had forgotten about his vested interests in businesses? Could it be, what else could he have forgotten? Could he have forgotten whether he had any integrity or not? Can we think of a politician? Can we let the audience think of which MP it would be classed as Mr. Forgetful? So that's number one. Now, who else have we got? We've got Mr.
Cameron? Hang on. What about Cameron? He forgot his children.
Are we going to not talk about the current MPs? Well, we could do. We've got Mr. Lazy. Well, that probably applies to the best part of 650 of them. So they're all going to have to share that prize. So that's Mr. Lazy. And who else have I got here? Mr. Bounce. And then we've got Mr. Mischief. Well, again, Mr. Mischief, that could apply to most of the MPs, I guess. And we've got Mr. Small. And then we've got, who's this one? Gosh, I can't even read this one. Let's have a look. I need to get my glasses on. Little Miss Giggles. So who could Little Miss Giggles be? Because they're all laughing at us, you know. One death over the weekend, and what happens? We're still in a form of lockdown here in the UK. So there we go. And we've got some more as well. Who's this one? This one in the checked hat. Who's she? Little Miss Lucky. Well, I think they're all lucky to get the salary that they're on when considering people are homeless and about to have their houses possessed. So they're very lucky. And we've got Mr. Who's this one? Mr. Worry. Now, we'd think that it should be Rishi Sunak, surely, Mr. Worry. Isn't he worried about balancing the books? But no, because he's coming after you for the climate change taxes. So that's just a selection of the puppets we have on the show tonight. So if anybody's got any ideas who any of these might represent, Little Miss Giggles, eh? I think it used to make a noise, but hey-ho. Right then, so what we're going to talk about tonight, because it's been, it must be about three weeks or so, and we've been talking about eugenics. And do you know what's so strange about, this is a topic that I knew really nothing about. And it's like when you discover something for the first time, you then see eugenics, whatever you're doing. You know what I mean? You discover a particular ice cream and then you see it in every shop that you go and visit. So how does that work then? It's sod's law.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit like, have you noticed if you try to avoid someone, you'll always bump into them. And when you go to buy another car, so a new car, you'll always see that car because you're looking out. You know, it's weird, isn't it? But tonight we're going to, I mean, let's face it, those politicians you've got with you, yes, they're actually telling you what's inside their brains, which is very little. What's between their ears? Yes, it's all fluffy, isn't it? But what gets me is the Mayor of London elections. There's so many people, as every time, sort of Uncle Tom Cobley and all putting up for it, isn't there? There's Mr. Rose, Brian Rose, the American that's going around in his battle bus. And I question, where does he get the dosh from? And there's lots of mysterious people putting up. But I've got a funny feeling. I mean, my particular view is that, well, let's cut to the chase, all right? Usury, and I'm going to bore you all because I've mentioned this loads of times. Usury scammers rule countries, civil servants run countries, and the governments are the puppets of the usury scammers whose job is to not let people know who really rules the country. So they're all they're a bit like, that Thunderbirds, beginning of this program. That's one of the reasons why we put it on, because they're puppets. And on Thursday, when people are voting, that's who they're voting for. Puppets. Okay, Mr. Rothschild, how can I do now? And that's what it's all about. But people, I actually put a post on Facebook about that, what I've just said, and people said, a conspiracy theorist, I wouldn't want to share a taxi with you, so usury is a conspiracy theory. Ooh. And I need my head examined. I'm a mental case, and I need my head a good shake because I'm completely bonkers. So, did Edward Longshanks, did he need his head examined when he booted all the criminals, the financial criminals, out of this country when he was king? And this country prospered for 300 years until Cromwell invited all the usury scammers back into this country because they financed his new model army. And then he put every generation thereafter into massive debt that, of course, doesn't exist. So it's surprising how people have been conditioned, because if you go up to people in the street and you say, excuse me, do you know who Edward Longshanks is? They go, wasn't he on Coronation Street? Or, do you know what usury is? Isn't that an addition that they put in shreddies? They wouldn't know. Over to you, Caroline.
Shreddies. Actually, I was watching, going off at a tangent now. You mentioned shreddies. I don't know if you've seen that TV program, Food Unwrapped, but they tried to replicate shreddies by the chefs, and they could not replicate shreddies. So they're actually quite an intricate breakfast cereal. But we don't even want to talk about Kellogg's or eugenics, do we? Or do we want to talk about eugenics? I tell you something what has amused me on social media, though, this week. And I mean, amuse me or bemuse me, I should say, because, we have seen so many of these drops, if you like, about people in underground tunnels. And there's a guy who's got a channel out, and he's just getting people to share his video of so many women being rescued. And all you see is women walking across a street wearing masks. And I just think, well, is this an elaborate hoax? What evidence have we got? Because the people who are in power are still there. Apart from Prince Philip moving on, everybody else is in situ. Apart from, of course, we've got the marital situation of Bill and Melinda Gates. And it was pointed out to me on social media tonight that perhaps if you get divorced, money can be transferred from one person to another. And if anybody should then come after the person who has no money, they can't, for whatever reason, they then can't claim against that person because they could say legitimately that they had no money left due to a divorce. So that's food for thought, because everybody says, why is it happening now after 27 years? And because of this big rollout we've got throughout the world. So that's just a thought, Anyway, so what else can we talk about? Because
my other thought, sorry.
This weather is just so horrible. We had almost like early summer weather about 3 weeks ago. And I think that was when the pubs started opening up for outside. And the weather each week, it's got colder and windier and rainy. And we're going to have frost again tonight. So this is mid-May in the UK. And remember the weather we had, or the USA had in Texas not so long ago. They had never seen snow like it, and it froze the energy grid. So what is going on? Who's organising the weather?
Precisely. And also, you see, this, what's getting me is the weather is like a religion that has an answer for everything, but answer for nothing. This is the global warming or the climate change brigade, because apparently my local MP, not MP, was it councillor, he thinks he's King Canute and can turn the waves back because he wants to stop climate change, which is a bit difficult because the climate's been changing since the year dot. So I don't quite know how he's going to do that. I mean, has he got sort of contacts with HQ or something? You know, the big god upstairs or something? I don't know. But I'll have to show you a little bit about, this is what came through my letterbox the other day. So brace yourself, good people, because this is what came through. Here it comes. Now, it says here for Hertfordshire, and here he is. I blanked out his name, obviously, because I don't want to get... but it says, a sustainable future, and he wants... was it... and oh, well, this is the other thing they're going to do, build loads of roads. And look at that, you know, people in silly masks being awful to each other. That, seriously, is one of the most terrifying election broadcasts I've ever seen, because he wants to become carbon neutral before 2030, and of course humans are carbon, aren't we? So he wants to
neutralize us.
That's right. So I'm going to ask him that, but he hasn't knocked round the doors. So that's it. But I thought what we could speak about tonight, Caroline, we've covered a lot in eugenics and Mr. Kellogg's.
We've had the Madeleine McCann story be resurrected, haven't we, this week? Because it was Madeleine's, I believe, if she was on this planet today, she would be 18 years of age. And it's, for me, when that story broke, what was it, 15 years ago, 14 years ago, it was a gut-wrenching to me. But also, because she looks such a beautiful little girl.
Lovely little girl, isn't she?
But the story, and I know we're not supposed to judge other people, however, you can't help but question the motives, the brains of people who leave 3 children under the age of 5, not pay for a babysitter, and go to have a meal. Okay, they say they could see the front door, but really? I mean, as a million things could have gone wrong, and one of those things did go wrong. What happens if there'd been a fire? What happens if, I don't know, something had exploded? You know, are we saying they had air conditioning? Were windows left open and then somebody broke in? That's what they said, wasn't it? Somebody had come in from a back window. Does that happen unless you leave the window ajar? Wasn't there air conditioning?
Wow. This is very interesting because Richard D. Hall of Rich Planet went into it very deeply. And he went to America to see a chap, and his name escapes me now, but he is an expert on witness statements. And he said the way you actually construct a sentence, you can actually frame yourself. You tell the truth within a sentence, because if you're telling a lie, you distance yourself. I mean, I'm not one of these witness analyzers. You better go on to, you know, after this, of course, go on to Richard D. Hall's website, richplanet.net. He actually explains it fully. And this witness statement an analyst who's one of the top ones, he saw their video and he said they're not really telling you the full truth. Because, for instance, one of the things he picked up, he said the mother said that when she went into the room where Madeleine was, she saw the curtains blowing up and she saw the windows open. He said, well, if you're a mother, you would be concerned about the child, not the windows. You'd say, where's Madeleine? Is she warm enough? Is she got proper clothing on? Is she this? Is she that? You want the last thing you'd be thinking about would be the windows and the curtains blowing up. And he said, it all seems a very fabricated story. And it turns out that her mother was an anaesthetist. Now, allegedly, some people have suggested, I'm not suggesting, but it has been suggested that something may have been given to this young child to make her sleep better, and they got the mixture wrong. But there's more in it than meets the eye, because why are the British government so intensely spending a lot of money on this, and why is it kept going? Loads of children go missing every year, but why this particular case, which is very strange? And Clement Freud, the late Clement Freud, apparently had a place nearby who was a paedophile, and there are other names who are still alive, which I will not mention, obviously, because I don't really want to spend time in court. But
don't just leave me on my own. On if we get another ban, whose timeline am I going to be able to use? And this is where this is why we are real truth seekers, because like last year I spent as much time on Facebook as off Facebook, so 6 months on and 6 months off. And so when I get back on, I go like the clappers, if you pardon the expression, because it's just post, and then I'll go from all to nothing. So in between this time I thought, well, I've got to find another platform, because Facebook were hinting, well, we might not have you back on here simply for posting a picture. Primarily, which I'd already paid a ban on, 3-day ban the previous week.
Yes.
A picture and something else, which we won't say on air. And so I thought, well, I'm going to have to find another platform. I'm already on LinkedIn because I'm a professional and have a profile on there. But I just think it's not really the place for a lot of the material that you find on Facebook. I think it is so mainstream on LinkedIn. They would probably find you very, very weird if you posted half the stuff that we post on Facebook. So I basically set up a Telegram account, a group account. And what's been nice is being able to do these 5-minute little shows on my phone and then just upload them straight onto Telegram. So that's been nice.
But also, if I can interrupt here, sorry,
yep,
Caroline. No. If Caroline disappears or I disappear off the limelight, you can always go on to my website, falconhallradio.com. Sorry about that. It sounds rude, but it isn't. And on there, there's a blog that I try and update on I'd say daily, but let's face it, almost weekly basis. A regular basis, shall we say. So you can always find out what's happened to us from my website or your website, which is, have I got a thing?
CarolineStephens.net.
Just one moment. You've disappeared off my thingy-bob here. Oh, well, it's CarolineStephens.net. Now, shall we have a quick look in chat? And I'd like to ask the question for you, those of you in chat. Can you see Caroline and myself? Or is it you can only see me or you can only see Caroline? Now, I'm doing this via StreamYard. So do you see both of us or do you just see one of us? So I'll just go through the chat whilst you're thinking of that, that's me, Caroline. Oh, sorry, the wrong way, Caroline. Right, so who we got in chat? We got Cat. Ollie, hello, Cat. How are you? All right.
Cat.
And, hang on, someone's just we'll be coming to that. Keep you all in suspenders for a few moments, or suspense, as they say.
Hello.
Leandra Davis. Hi, Chris and Carol. Oh, another nice person. Well, all nice people. We got Christine Grace. Found you. No notification. Slap wrist. Terribly sorry.
I'm banned, Christine. I'm banned. I can't get. What happened tonight? We thought that we could circumvent the rules, and Peter put up a post, tagged me in, and I was then going to accept it, so at least it would appear on my timeline. But Facebook have cottoned on to that, so that doesn't happen anymore. I can't accept it. And even when I've accepted them, people it's almost like they're shadow banned anyway.
Now, we've got here, Michelle Lawson says, apparently, if you go there, that's Portugal, we're talking about the Madeleine McCann case, and ask the taxi drivers about that place they stayed in. It is apparently a knocking off place for sex. It's interesting. What's like a posh red light area, I presume. Right.
I have to say, we're talking about the McCanns. I did read this week that Clement Freud's son denied that Clement Freud was in Portugal at the time. So I just thought I would just put that there.
That's interesting. Now, we've got, apparently we can see, they can see both of us. Isn't that nice? Oh, that's good. I'm glad I combed my hair and put a see-through wig on. Here we go. Oh, isn't that nice? Thank you very much. Hello. Right. There. Now, with the McCann's case, oh, hang on. Here we go.
He was away.
He was away. But with the McCann's case, there is some people say that Madeleine, was it her mother never gave birth to her? And they wonder whether she ever existed or what. It's a bit like last Monday, I was talking to John Hamer, and he was talking about the Jack the Ripper case, and he was due to come on with us tonight, and unfortunately he was busy, so he couldn't actually make it tonight. But there's so many theories, and they're all very, very credible. And there was one that involves blackmail and the Secret Service and all kinds of things like that. But the thing is that I think this Madeleine McCann case, sadly, I think the poor little girl is dead. And you know what happened? They got sniffer dogs in, didn't they? That sniffed they can sniff blood up to something that happened years ago. They're incredible, these sniffer dogs. And the dog actually smelt blood in the back of their car. So that's an interesting case. And the chap was taken off immediately and taken, away from the case. And that Portuguese detective who was looking into the case was one of the best they had, and he was taken off the case. So, and he wrote a book, and I'm not sure if it's still banned in Great Britain. So, and apparently it was translated into English. Now, I don't know if you can get hold of that book or not, but it's an intriguing case. And my heart goes out for the children who suffer in that. And I mean, I just hope that little girl didn't suffer in any way.
It is. I mean, they interviewed one of the articles I read this week. It was actually written a year ago. And one of the journalists who keeps interviewing them every so often, she said it's probably one of the most divisive, if not the most divisive, case she has ever been involved in, because it polarized people's opinions so much. I mean, I remember praying with a few Christians in a house group, and they were sticking up for the parents left, right, and center. And then I think a lot of them felt a bit guilty for the things that they had done with their children. And I think that was sort of manifesting itself as well there. But for the grace of God go I. But I do think, I know we've all done really crazy things, but I don't think they'd done that as a one-off. It was seemingly a regular situation whilst they were on holiday. And so people, well, there wouldn't have been an opportunist. I mean, was she taken to order? Like, you see, in Europe, when people have really posh cars, they are taken, they're stolen to order. And there was the thought that that Madeleine was stolen to order?
Well, being that dog smelt blood in the back of the parents' car, I've got to feel, I don't know, and I'll be careful what I say now, but I don't think, I think the poor little girl, as she died on that night, and where she is, we just do not know. But it's very sad. But, you know, with child abuse, I mean, there are different levels of, I mean, there's people, they're talking about paedophilia and that's sexual abuse, but there's also physical and psychological abuse, which is not sexual, where a child is beaten into because if the adult has a psychological problem, they often take their temper out on a young child. And there's that physical, and there's also psychological torture, which the scars don't heal when they last into adult life. And that isn't actually addressed or looked at. They always talk about paedophilia, which, yes, we should look at, I agree, but there's also the physical and psychological torture that children can go through. And you think of the torture of what's happening now, you know, or what happened last year. I'd like to go and play with my friends. No, you can't. You're not allowed to. You've got to stay indoors. You've got to do this. You've got to do that, which brings us smoothly segue onto psychopaths. And
that's your favourite topic. You must have been scarred as a child, I think.
Well, we won't go into that, but no, we won't go into but we got some interesting stuff in chat. What we got here? We've got Kat here. We've got, I live in Portugal. Do you really? And I can't say why, but I think it was another psyop. Yes, I think you got a point there. It's also what I call, in a magic act, they always, shall we say, put the audience attention away from what they're doing. And I think that
so what were they doing then?
That's right. So I think that if there's something going on that is, say, touchy with the, I mean, it's a bit like
these flowers here.
That's right. You look
over here.
Yeah, that's right. It's there's a name for it which I can't think right now, but
deflection, distraction,
misdirection is the word I was looking at.
Misdirection.
It's always misdirection. They're misdirecting you into other areas. And what I've learned by doing these programs every Monday with falsification, like falsification of history and things like that. Again, if you reverse things, the people that we've been told are heroes are generally the most vile people in the world. The people we're told are our enemy are generally quite nice. But someone has put an interesting one here. There we go. It's Christine Grace. Hello, Christine. IVF and the default in the eye. George Soros has the same eye, I believe. Hang on. IVF and the default in the eye. George Soros has the same eye, I believe. Okay.
Yeah, because Madeleine McCann had a different sort of like a speckle of colour in, I think, one eye, and so it was very distinctive, if you remember.
No, I don't remember that. No.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I didn't know that. You know, that's very, very interesting. You know, but again, is that a misdirection? Does the Madeleine McCann case, now there seems to be a lot of misdirection, like William and his wife there, you know, William of the fame, is his wife divorced him because she doesn't like his Microsoft? Sorry, that's a dirty joke there.
You're talking about, hang on, which William? You're talking about Gates now, are you?
Yeah.
Well, I listened to this. This is gossip, and this is not. But I mean, it's in the mainstream media, and why it's come out now. But apparently, Bill Gates has. Yeah, this is gossip. I know it's. I shouldn't be talking about this, should I? Really? But Bill Gates, 1 week in every 1 weekend or 1 week in every year. He leaves the family home
allegedly
and spends it with. It's in the mainstream media. Yeah, okay. Allegedly, he goes and spends the time with somebody else.
Well. We know our Prime Minister like that as well, don't we? And we have Ben Pinto like that as well. But when you look at it, I mean, it's a bit like what made me laugh is when John Major sort of stood up and said, oh, yes, I believe in family values and the husband and wife and children. What's he doing? Knocking it off with a curry. I still don't believe that. I just cannot see John Major.
Are you sure he just didn't like having a curry? A curry for a night out.
Oh, that was in bad taste, was it?
Well, it was excellent. It was excellent.
Oh, yes. Well, actually,
she did wonders for the egg industry, didn't she?
I knew somebody many years ago that went to school with her. And she didn't
you live
like
in such a posh area.
I know. No, she was because she went to school in Liverpool. And this person I knew, she went to school in Liverpool. She was from Liverpool. And I think if I said what she said, I would definitely be booted off air. This way.
Okay, well, the last time I saw it, yeah.
The words, how can I put this politically correct? She was very friendly with a lot of the people, of the male variety, shall we say. Allegedly, I believe.
Well, she wants everybody jabbed, that's for sure.
Really?
I've done that again.
Yeah.
I keep doing that.
That's upset all your politicians here, hasn't it? What you just said.
All cooled down.
Right. Well, we've got some nice, interesting ones here. We got Christine. Madeline was IVF. Interesting. And then we've got here. Tracy
Hi,
Mirrors.
Tracy.
Hello, Tracy. The McCanns were having a meal with their friends, and their friends are come very close friends with Gordon Brown.
Oh, that's right, Gordon Brown. That's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Gordon Brown. Now, sorry, I don't take the mickey out of people who's got deformities, but Gordon Brown, I can't say.
And by the way, I think we should just point out to people tonight that our conversations have had to be a little bit different tonight. We've taken some time out, primarily because I've been banned, but also because we've had difficulties getting our videos uploaded onto any platform whatsoever. We've had Eric or Chris or Peter, whatever you want to call yourself. Eric, what? Sorry, what am I going to call you?
Call me anything you like, as long as it's not too late for my dinner.
How many weeks is it now that the BitChute are still uploading that last video? Is it 3 or 4 weeks?
Odyssey won't, for some unknown reason, they won't upload more videos. So I'm just left with YouTube now. That's why I'm sort of being very careful what I say, you know. Now we got here. Was Maddie Jerry's child? Jerry McCann. Oh yeah, possibly. I don't know. There we got here. Was it? I didn't think he was, but not sure. Okay. There's Christine again. There are pictures on the internet of George Soros, with the same bleed of colour in his eye as Madeline. I thought his eyes were black like devil shit.
Oh, yeah, right, okay.
That's interesting.
Hi, Lucky.
Hello, Lucky. Then we got here golden brown cocaine. Interesting. Then we've got here, that's BC of you, Caroline Stevens. That's BC.
Because of you.
Because
because of you being banned all the time. Us being banned. It's because of what I say.
Yeah. Sorry, Gordon Brown may be smoothed the way. Maybe yes, right. It's maybe smoothed the way. That's a good point there. You know, wasn't that what the Stranglers did? Oh, that was Golden Brown, wasn't it? Yeah. They're all part of the censoring. Yes. Hey, we got banned censorship. That's right. You know, so we've been very careful what we're saying tonight. Oh, we've been sort of.
Well, it is, and you know, I tell you what's really interesting is that I did a one-off show on my own one Saturday a couple of months ago, and I focused on Wellcome Trust, and that's the second largest foundation, charity, whatever you want to call it, in the world. It's second to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And I find it really interesting how we talk about, we talk, I haven't said anything bad yet, have I?
No. I've just heard I talk like an angel's. Oh,
please don't say anything.
We've got to do that.
Just the statistics. And so they are the second largest foundation. And, you know, we talk about distraction. Look over here and things are happening over here. Well, so everybody's focusing on the foundation, Bill and Melinda Gates. But, you know, I found that the Wellcome Trust were operating a system of giving out bursaries, money, whatever you want to call it, to people, to academics working at places like the University of Oxford, to focus on the subject of eugenics. And I just think it's funny because, you know, people keep sending me a video of a guy called Yeadon. And he worked at Wellcome Trust. And if you worked as a senior person at Wellcome Trust, would you not know about where this money was?
Things, yes. I think we've got to be
Would you not know these things?
Things.
Where
That's right.
You know what I mean?
Because let's face it, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Oh, they're such. Assuming I'm going to throw up now.
Such good people.
Oh, they're marvelous, aren't they? I think I haven't got a sick bag big enough. Actually, I think I need a dustbin. But we've got to say that so we're not banned. So, but
Purbright Institute is this place in Surrey. I've done videos on it, and don't worry, I won't say too much. But the Wellcome Trust is up there helping them, as well as Belinda's Foundation. I like to call it Belinda's Foundation. It's much easier. So everybody puts the attention on this Gates guy, the Microsoft, but whilst Wellcome's being very welcoming with their money too. That's all.
That's right. Because what I said is like what I said earlier. I think she's divorcing him because of his Microsoft. No, we won't go there. But dirty joke. But seriously though, I really think, and this is my view, allegedly, could it be that she might be a little bit frightened of the consequences because things are not going quite as planned? And in a criminal court, if you're divorced from somebody, you could say, well, I tried to dissuade him from doing these things, and you know, maybe instead of facing life in prison, she might get away with a few years. You know, allegedly, you know, because we don't know what's behind it. We can only speculate. But it seems very strange that you should wash your dirty laundry in public. I mean, if they got divorced, couldn't they keep quiet about it? I mean, so what? But should we go back into chat? We've got some interesting stuff here.
Have we got anybody? Which MP is Mr. Mischief? Would that be Hancock? Is he Mr. Mischief?
I think he's the one with all the stuffing in his head, isn't he?
They've all got stuffing in their head. Did anybody watch the talk radio interview a couple of nights ago with Julia Hartley-Brewer? A lady, incidentally, I've shared a platform with. She's a lovely, lovely lady. And she was giving Liz Truss, who used to be education secretary, and when I was doing my financial education campaign, she was involved in that particular campaign. And she's now moved on to trade, and she was being quizzed by Julia, and Julia was saying, well, there was one person disappeared yesterday from you know what, and there's 67 million plus people in this country. Is it insane, the policy? Oh, well, we're sticking to the roadmap. Well, you can stop it tomorrow. You can make everything right from today. If anybody gets that, I mean, I've put it on Telegram, and thanks to everybody who's come across and joined the Telegram group Seeking the Truth. And I have put the video on there. Fantastic interview. It won't make any difference, but it's just a good interview to show people who are not necessarily like one of us that actually they should start waking up a little bit more to what's going on in Parliament. It's a great video. Right, have you been able to, whilst I've been buying your time?
Okay, let's have a look in chat. We got, what can we do to show that we are sick of all this? Well, you really got to go to the head of the snake, which is the usury scammers.
Oh, I thought you were going to say go to the Vatican. We can't get on a plane. We can't leave the country. It's funny, though, isn't it, that Nigel Farage can be found in across the pond on business. Haven't you got some business to go across the pond to? Haven't you got some building plans to work on, Chris?
That'd be a good idea. Yeah, I could invent some, can't I? You know, that'd be quite good plans to work on. But no, I think that people will be exiting this country like rats from a sinking ship. So
if they could leave.
Yeah. And Lucky Livin says, I think the only way we will all beat these tyrants is letting the PPL know how powerful we are and not the governments. Yes, I mean, I think develop your own currency and avoid them, because once their finances disappear, what can they do? You know. Now, what sex is Belinda, male or female? I don't know. You have to ask his girlfriend. Yeah, ask his girlfriend.
Well, there's a few points here, isn't there? Because we don't know. I mean, we keep seeing pictures of these famous people with Adam's apples. But then you see, for example, Obama's wife. You see pictures on social media with a distinct Adam's apple.
That's right.
But then you see her on television at Biden's inauguration or what have you. And I don't notice anything like that. Now, you've also, it's like you were saying, people were saying about a big psyops, a potential psyops with the Madeleine McCann's situation. You know, these thousands of people who've supposedly just come out of these tunnels. Is this not just a very convenient government psyops? Because there are still people out there that believe that Trump is going to come back and he's going to do this and he's going to do that. And I mean, these are, I thought they were really rational people, and they won't give up. They cannot let that story drop. He will come back. He will come back. I know Christians who think he's a wonderful guy. I know a guy who says, oh, I've given him so much advice because I live in the same town. He lives down on the South Coast. And Trump has got a cousin, I think. He lives on the South Coast, somewhere like Lewis, I think it is, near the coast anyway. And so he's like giving Trump advice when he was in office. And these people, they can't drop it. They really can't drop the fact that the elites, the establishment, whatever you want to call them, don't want him there anymore. They've got somebody else, another gatekeeper, if you like. I mean, I was just saying, thanks to everybody who's come across on Telegram, but, you know, there's a group on Telegram which I was invited to join. But then you find that basically a lot of these groups, these are perfect hotbeds for government people to collect information, and then they shut the groups down like they did on Facebook. They get the victims' details and how they've suffered for whatever reason, and then they shut the group down when it gets too popular, gets to a certain number, and then the people gravitate to Telegram. It'll be a smaller group than before. You see, what happens on Telegram, it's been a bit of an eye-opener because I've been banned from putting stuff into other groups. So it's not just Facebook that bans people like us. Telegram, they're all run by the CIA. They're all on the cloud, whatever. They're just harvesting of information. And you see, this is something that I looked into. What was it? With the Pilgrim Society. And the press, all the security services, all put under one sort of empire, if you like. So they're just harvesting our data, whatever. And how do we get round it? It was on the news tonight that Hungerford is it Berkshire? Hungerford is having a real problem with pigeons. There's pigeon poo everywhere, and it's actually destroying the fabric of the town. Do you know what they said? And you'll get the link in a minute, because you probably think, what's she talking about pigeons for now? The pigeons, they want to crate them up and send them to Whitby. And I just think, coming from the north, I think that has to be. But that's a side issue. It's like, it's too posh. Hungerford is too posh, but we'll send them up to Whitby. And I'm thinking, well, thanks very much. Not that I live in either place, but what I was going to say is these pigeons, get to the crux of this now. The pigeons would be an ideal way of transmitting conversations from my house to your house, for example. That's what they did in the wars, isn't it? I mean, Chris, you remember what happened in the war, didn't you?
Well, I'm not that old, but my dad, when he was in the war, he was actually, his lot were ordered to shoot pigeons down if they saw us. And my dad is an amateur, and luckily never saw any pigeons. But we go back into chat. What I was going to say, talking about tracing us, I'm going to publish a book soon on Kindle. And I actually joined Kindle today. Tap, 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 tap. I thought, okay, I'm publishing a book on there. From there on, when I got onto YouTube tonight, what did I get? Advert for book publishing. Facebook, adverts for book publishing. So they know where you are and where you're going, but let's have a quick look in chat again. Where are we? Excuse me, there's so many in chat tonight. I can't actually read them all out.
But are they just chatting to each other, though? Because it's really irritating, isn't it? But when other people are doing their shows, and then nobody actually listens to a word those people are saying. They just come on to chat with each other. It's like,
I had some pigeons today. Right, Talk Radio is Zio controlled opposition. Yeah, it is. It's actually, I think, is it owned by Murdoch? Not sure. There's one of them.
I think Julia's had the jab.
Has she?
I think she has. Yeah.
You can go to Turkey for cosmetic surgery.
Is that a subtle hint? Thanks, Tracy. Apparently, somebody said on Facebook the other day that I was rather posh, which I think is quite amusing when I break into a broad Yorkshire accent. But there you go. Is Michelle Obama a man?
Well, I've seen pictures. Either she likes keeping bananas and apples down her front, or
maybe she's just hungry.
Maybe she just likes to carry fruit around with her. I don't know. But I did if you go onto my website, foghamhallradio.com, and you look down, I actually used to do a satirical magazine, and I did a fashion pull out on Michelle or Michael Obama, and I won't tell you more, but I thought it was quite funny anyway. And here is UK column news controlled. We've got 3 hours to spare. Very
Is
clever.
the Pope a
You know.
Jesuit?
Right. She's a man. Yeah. Well, if you look at what was that woman, that comedian, she mentioned it and she was dead within a couple of weeks. What was her name now?
Who was dead after?
Remember that comedian? What was her name? She's a Jewish comedian. I can't think of her name. Oh, crumbs. Hang on. I think somebody might have mentioned her name here somewhere. Where is it? Did someone mention it? Help. But she, yeah. Joan Rivers outed Michael Obama. That's it, Michelle. It was Joan Rivers. And they said to her, and she said, oh, no, it's a bloke and that. And within a very short amount of time, she was dead. So, you know, and apparently she went into hospital for a very minor operation and she died on the operating theatre. Oh, yeah. Trump is a Mason.
Yeah,
Maybe.
certainly is. 33rd degree, I believe.
We was talking about it on Monday because with the Jack the Ripper thing, if you go on to the Eric Von Essex YouTube site, and we did, it was John Hamer and myself, we was talking about Jack the Ripper. I won't give too much away, but that involved Freemasonry and the father of somebody that was very famous during World War II, who I was going to speak about tonight. But we got here, look at the hands and feet, Caroline. Men can never turn their shape, no matter how much they operate on themselves to change. Yeah, that's right. I'm 99% Trump's wife. Trump's wife is a man. I don't know, I thought she looks a bit feminine. Trump's wife is a man.
I've heard that.
Well, I don't know. But Scottish. Oh yes, Trump is part Scottish, isn't he? His mother's Scottish, I think. Now we got here Hyde. Yeah, I might do that. Now we've got here millions of Americans. Back. Yes, that's right. And we got another one. Joan Rivers was meant to drop it, get us all distracted again. Yes, that's right. Well, she's dead, isn't she? That's what we're down here. And we've got a few where the people are talking to each other. That's why they don't say a lot nowadays. Get off grid. We've got here from Lucky Livin.
Get off the grid. That's easier said than done. Actually, you're talking about people like Oprah Winfrey. She was the person who interviewed Harry and Meghan. Oprah Winfrey and Michelle Obama, they're really good mates, aren't they? Yeah. And I often wonder about them. I mean, when you look at these shows, I mean, when you look at what we have that's, well, there's a lot of talentless people that's becoming famous now. That's what I've noticed. And they're all backing the, let's call it the agenda. How are you not looking at us?
But though, really, when you look at it, I mean, there's, shall we say, a pub pianist, who I call a pub pianist, who I think is, he's clever, yes, but there's a lot of pub pianists that are clever. And there's an actor who's himself in every part he says, not normally people know that, and I think you can guess what I'm talking about. I won't say. He's a nice enough character, yes.
I'm going to blow the bloody doors off.
Yeah, that's right, because, here he is as, I don't know, the President of the United States. Yeah, right, I'm the President of the United States. Every film role.
Well, I just thought, right, I did think the other day, it is depressing. And this is the day when they've been announcing this. Oh, it was 1 in 10 people that suffered depression before the first lockdown. And now it's down to, up to 1 in 5. So that's enough to make you depressed by knowing that a huge chunk of the population are now depressed. It's almost like those negative vibes do actually feed you and think, oh, right. So I really do feel depressed. But this depression I forgot what I was going to say now about this depression.
Well, it's contagious.
Oh, it is contagious. Yeah, it is contagious.
It's like yawning. If we both yawned, everybody who's watching us would start yawning. Seriously.
Well, but the thing is, you see, when you're locked down, people have been used to speaking to other people. We do get a good feeling when we meet people we like. That doesn't mean to say it's a godly thing necessarily, but it just means we are creatures that some of us like to be with a few people, or at least meet one person. For a lot of people, I mean, when I last spoke to you, we were coming out of a major lockdown, and I met a guy that day in the supermarket, and he had been locked down for a year. He'd been shielding for the entire year and had never spoken to anybody face to face. And then he met me at the tills, and it's like, dup, 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 dup. But for him, I mean, he probably would have been quite exhausted after meeting me, after not meeting anybody else. And no wonder people get depressed.
Well, that's right. I mean, it's somebody like
no comments, please.
Placebo effect. There was an experiment done on a prisoner in America in the 1920s who was sentenced to death. And scientists wanted to investigate the psychological effects. And this is quite true, what happened. I cannot give you any names, but please look it up. It actually did happen. And what they said is that we're going to actually drain some blood from you, a lot of blood from you, and there's a very, very slim chance you might survive. But he was going to the electric chair anyway. And they strapped him in a seat. And they just put a little tiny slither not in a jugular, but in a vein that wouldn't really. And then they put on a tapping sound as if it was his blood draining away. And this man was a fit man. He was a young man, and he was strapped to a seat like this. And all he could do was tick, 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 tick. He had a heart attack and died because the placebo.
The thought of it.
The thought of it. And they even turned it off, and he actually it killed. Now the Aborigines have got a thing called pointing the bone, and what they do, they point the bone at some poor sod and tell them to go away and die, and they do. And that's true. They actually do that, and it's a psychological effect. The medicine man, or not medicine man, but whatever. And there's another very strange thing that people can't understand is what's the Indians do in Canada. You know these totem poles that they make? Well, I was told this by a Canadian who looked into this, and he was saying that they select a tree that they want to make a totem pole out of, and then they tell by some ceremony the tree next to it that they want that tree, and the tree dies. And they just don't know how they do it. There's lots of things like that where it's kind of suggestion, but this is dealing with nature as well. And I really do believe that what we've got now, the government use a behavioural insight group. Now that is very, very, we're on shaky grounds there, the behavioural insight group. And when you look at these people that go into that, and we was going to talk about psychopaths, which is one of my sort of pet subjects, I've found that, as I've told people before, I was freelance in architecture. I work in loads of places, I probably do more projects in a year than most people do in a lifetime. That's what it's like when you're freelance. And you're working in an office, everybody's getting on very, very well, and suddenly a psycho will come in, and they can seem to hypnotize, for the want of a better word, people, ordinary nice people, to do behave in the most strange way. And when you hear people like that Stalin was responsible for the deaths of 40 million, and that's only an estimate, they reckon there's more than that, could be people, Mao, 1 billion people, again it's an estimate, that actual genocide was carried out a lot by ordinary people that have come under the spell of these psychopaths, and they do have a strange atmosphere and spell about them. Tony Blair used to be quite a nice character, and suddenly the evil got into him, and a lot of his friends just turned their back on him because they said he was just a totally different person. And I've found this happen to a close relative of mine who married what I believe was a psychopath, and she just changed from a pleasant, easygoing person to an absolute monster. But it took time. It's over a period of years. Gradually turned more and more into a monster. And I think that's what we've got over us now, is these psychopaths. So we've got to understand our enemy, first of all, number one, and then find a chink in the armor. And the chink in the armor is humor, because they don't understand humor. And
well, it's funny, you know, I have met Matthew Hancock, and I've probably mentioned this once or twice before. I met Matthew Hancock about 6 or 7 years ago. And because I'm a qualified teacher, and I was working on some charity work, and I went into schools and gave debt advice, effectively, to children not to go into debt, but to save. And I just realized as the months went on, I wasn't doing, it was a high profile charity job, if you like. Worked a couple of hours a week, that's all it was. But it opened doors with MPs. And I was invited to an adult education event, because not only am I qualified to teach children of all ages, but it's a different qualification to teach adults education. And I attended this event. I had just joined a political party, and I was there because of the financial education. And I was introduced to Matthew Hancock. He was speaking because I think he was head of business skills. Because he's been in lots of departments as Matthew Hancock. He has been, sharpening his teeth in every department going, pretty much. And I met him and I was introduced to him. And I was introduced to, not as a teacher, but the girl who's from UKIP. And it's like, why did you say that? I'm at an education. I just joined a political party. Nothing major. I think I probably stood for council elections, but they introduced me under this education group as somebody in politics. And he just looked at me, and it was as if, I've said this to you before, I think, it was as if he had seen a ghost. And for some people, they must have something, because these people are the psychopaths. They must see something in people like us that may be challenging them. I don't know. But it's definitely, he looked very worried. I never said anything, really. I didn't realize how much he was going to shape the future of the lives of the people in the United Kingdom. And although I think that all these people are puppets, and I don't know which one he is, because they're all stuffed full of nothingness, and they may not have any God DNA inside them. But how do you combat these people? It's a good point. Marching around is not going to help. It just does. 1 million people marched against Tony Blair. You see, these marches are always organised by the Matrix. So these are organised by people you think are on your side. So that's the big fallacy for a start. Then the second fallacy is, or falsehood, is the fact that whoever is organising these groups, they're always asking for money, they're asking for your email addresses, and then they're selling merchandise. I can't tell you how much Brexit merchandise we used to give out free of charge, right through to car stickers. But then as well, they organise these events, but they actually fill in forms online to organise these events. So we all want to be out of the Matrix, but yet we're actually being connected even more so into the Matrix. So it doesn't really make sense. I mean, as I say, these events are always organised on a Saturday or a Sunday, and the MPs aren't there. I mean, if you believe that it's the MPs in their entirety that's making all these decisions, you know, I would suggest that people look at the Privy Council and the monarch. And this is the big lie in this country, is the fact that you have, dare I say, a lot of military people. I've got friends who've been in the military, and they get to a point where they don't want to accept that Buckingham Palace is connected with any of what's going on. I mean, I remember interviewing a guy once who, a truther, and he said Buckingham Palace is the biggest insider dealers in the world. Because, you see, insider dealing, for anybody who's not really familiar with that, it's having knowledge about a company, how it's going to perform, or before that knowledge has been disseminated into the marketplace. So this is where you have that insider knowledge. If you know that something's going to be purchased or a debt's going to be uncovered, etc., you know that shares are going to rise or fall. When these papers go through Parliament, the papers, people have said, and these are allegations, but they have seen taxes leave Parliament and go to Buckingham Palace, which stands to reason because a lot of these acts have to have the monarch's royal assent and this, that, and the other. So it's not unreasonable to think or to be aware of the fact of the position of the monarch. And of course, when the monarch was established, and maybe somebody will correct me on this, but the undertakings that a monarch has to God is actually, and yes, they do believe there is a God, and that's what's so sad about society today. They have taken our Creator out of our society and belittled him, but they know he exists. So people in the military, for example, they just cannot get to grips with the fact that the monarch has a particular role, a dubious role in any of these shenanigans, shall we say. So the monarch is never supposed to make money from their position. That is the monarch's role, not to make money.
Well, apparently the Queen had a great lot of investments in landmines, and Diana was trying to stop landmines, but that's another subject. But psychopaths thrive on creating fear, stress, and suspicion amongst people. It's something they get a kind of energy from. And that is, I mean, what you said there was absolutely fascinating, because did you know that, what's his name now? The chap after Wilson, Harold Wilson, Culligan, allegedly bought some land in Wales that was just scrubland. It was worth nothing. Him and another chap bought this scrubland, and people thought, what the hell is he buying that for? I don't think it was even fit to graze sheep on. Why would you buy scrubland, which you know? And then a little bit further down the line, the Royal Mint decided to build a building out of London. And where did they build it? On that scrubland. And he made a fortune out of it. Now, if that's not insider dealing, I don't know what is. Yes,
that's a great example of insider dealing. I mean, I know of some property, basically a couple of years ago, we were picked up from the airport by the taxi. And this was when we'd had all our luggage stolen. So we got into conversation because the taxi driver naturally was a bit perplexed that we had no luggage. So we got into conversation, and he just, I talked about politics, dare I say it. And he said, our car park, because it was one of those where you used to drive your car to the car park, then they'd shuttle you to the airport and then pick you up in the shuttle, and you pick up your car and off you go. And he said that some of the land had been sold and there was gas underneath there. And dare I say, particularly important people that we've all heard of knew about these deals. And they're going to build, if they haven't already built, private housing on that land. I know this is slightly different, but I'm just saying that there's so many dodgy deals going on. They're all so corrupt. And not only that, because of this property and the wheels being oiled, the palms being greased, but there is in a few years' time, there is a real, there's going to be a time when the gas will explode and a lot of people will die in London because of this greasing of palms. It's just so truly shocking. How many places now? Well, I was going to say, what about the flood? You know, we've got floodplains in our town and they keep talking about building property on there. But we know virtually every winter, those fields will flood 2 or 3 times.
That's right.
That's replicated throughout the whole of the country.
They did that in Stevenage, but what you said, I can back that up because a dear friend of mine, sadly, she's passed away now, and she really was a dear friend of mine for many years. She lived in Welwyn Garden City, and she really was she wasn't a journalist by profession, but she was brilliant at uncovering stuff. And she found out that not all of it, in certain parts, was a toxic dump after the war. And when she went to school, and this school was built on top of this toxic dump, and the incidence of cancers and other such things in this school was through the roof. And sadly, that's what she died of in the end. And she was a very sort of fit person. And she said that she reckons that a lot of the council estates there were built over toxic dumps where they just literally dumped the containers, metal containers, into the ground. And of course, they're rusting away and it's all leaching out into the soil and coming up now. But at her school, when she was very young, they had people coming with white coats inspecting all the children. She said it was very, very strange. They kept coming along. She went to an ordinary school, nothing different, you know, and thyroid problems. That was it. Her school had an absolute unbelievable amount of thyroid problems. She had a thyroid problem as well. So it really does make you think. There's a lot of things like that are covered up. I mean, look what they did.
Asbestos.
Asbestos after the World War II. There's dumping radioactive stuff in metal cans into the sea. And of course, that's into the Irish Sea. And it's all leaching out and getting into the fish and all things like that. So we're not really told a fraction. But going back into chat, there's somebody who got a very interesting, this is Lucky Living, my word, very busy tonight. Everything is vibrations, frequency, hence they change our HZ messy, the frequencies of our music today. I've heard something about that. Why do our kids are all that's why our kids are all messed up. Yes, you've got a point there. And also we've got Tracy. So it's here, when was that? Oh, that was talking about Tony Blair. That's when he was meeting young men in the public, allegedly in the public toilets. Well, if you go onto Eric Von Essex on YouTube and you go back about a year, there's a picture of Tony Blair, and I did a humorous video about that because I said it should be a tourist attraction. So I'm going to go right now. And the toilet where he was actually caught, allegedly, being rather naughty with another man, and was arrested and taken to Bow Street police station. I said that we should cash in and have it as a tourist attraction, a blue plaque on the wall. This is where Tony Blair allegedly did this. And they could have a Japanese tourist come along. We could have an actor, Tony Blair lookalike, with his trousers around his ankles, and Chinese and Japanese tourists could pose next to him. Oh, Tony Blair, yeah, here it is, you know.
Chris, we have gone. I still have problems with my back. And do you realise we've gone over an hour? We've gone over an hour tonight.
Well, there's something here I will not read out, obviously, but I think he's got a good point. This person she, I don't know, legally living. I think, got a good point there, but I will not read that out, obviously, because we don't want to be banned. Well, thanks, Caroline.
Thank you for having me back.
Well, we could make this, if we're not banned. And,
do it next Wednesday.
See you next Wednesday, same time, same place, and we'll be on Facebook. And remember, I'm sorry I haven't got a special banner for you. Terribly sorry. But are you still on Citizen Band, or have they banned you from that as well? You've been banned from that as well, yeah. But you could actually...
Somebody said to me today, oh, it's good that you're banned then, isn't it? Because it means that you're telling the truth. And it's like, but I can't get the message out because I keep getting banned. So it's like, well... I don't know. Well, thank you, everybody, for joining Telegram. Hopefully, I should be back on Facebook on Saturday, and I'll just slip back into the place. I'll still keep the Telegram going, but I just can't post in other people's groups. They keep posting. The trouble is, the people in Telegram, they're so anonymous. You don't know who they are. They call themselves the weirdest names. A lot of them. You don't know. You have no idea who they are. It could be the 77th people. They could all have about 10 profiles each. And they just keep feeding all the shill stuff into the groups. And you don't know who they are. And then they'll report you for saying, well, that person's a shill or what have you. So it's just, the people never really learn anything from that, if you see what I'm saying.
Well, all the security people are doing, I'll just end on this point. If you look back in history, after the First World War, there was lots of militant veteran associations started up who wanted to change things. Some of them were militant, some of them were, but the majority of them wanted to change things for the better. So what did the secret services do? They actually went in there and infiltrated and trashed the leaders and the ringleaders and literally destroyed these groups from within. And then what happened? Surprise, surprise, along comes a charitable organisation for veterans. I think you can guess which one it is. It's now royal and it's British. And I won't say the full name. And
are you in my league then, Chris?
Precisely. And what do? It was one of the most brilliant pieces of manipulation ever. They told people what they want to hear, people joined it, and then they gradually took people away from any form of revolution or changing things or anything like that. And that's exactly what they're doing now. They're infiltrating and destroying from within. So that's why it's always best to be an individual. So there we go. So join us next week, 8 o'clock, same time. And whatever happens, have a laugh, because that's what psychopaths don't like. They don't want us laughing, and we laugh and roar with laughter at them. Because remember, Ceausescu, that's how they got him out of power. They all stood outside his palace, and he didn't know what to do. They're all going ha 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 and pointing and laughing at him. What could he do? Nothing, because you're laughing.
Well, we'll know the results of the elections, and we were going to talk about that. That was one thing we were going to talk about, so we can talk about it posthumously. Well, I won't be going out. Put it this way: I won't be going to that. I won't be putting my cross on a ballot paper for sure tomorrow. No way, Jose.
No way.
Do not consent to more tyranny. It's just, don't get me started. It's too late on the night.
I think it's fiddled, and I've got a funny feeling that the Mayor of London will be the same. It'll be calm. I bet you any money you like, you'll get back in, because I do not believe since 1979. I don't think you've ever had an honest election, because it's not the will of the people, is it? Really, when you come to think about it. And the other one now with the climate gate, the latest statement is the science is settled. You heard that one? Yeah, the science is settled. Yeah.
Shut the conversation down.
Yeah.
You're a
And,
bozo if you don't believe that the science is settled.
the science is settled. So there we are. So the science is settled, and Greta
And it's
Thunberg.
settled that we're going to be back on air next Wednesday.
Good night, everyone. Thanks
Good
for
night.
everybody in chat. And I'm sorry I couldn't read all your stuff out, but good night, everyone. See you next
Bye.
week. Bye.
Bye.